Communism and socialism are two words that get thrown around a lot, often as if they mean the same thing. They don't. Both grew from the same root idea that society should work for everyone, not just for the wealthy. But the way they define ownership, power, and freedom is very different. Socialism, at its core, believes in mixing public and private ownership. It says that certain essential parts of life, healthcare, education, transportation, and utilities, should belong to the people collectively, while individuals are still free to own businesses, make profits, and build wealth. It's a system built around shared responsibility inside a democracy. Communism, as described by Karl Marx in the 19th century, imagined a future stage of society where private property and class divisions disappear completely. In theory, that means everyone contributes according to their ability and receives according to their need. But in practice, no nation has ever achieved that vision without sliding into authoritarianism. When communism was put into practice in the 20th century, in the Soviet Union, China, North Korea, and elsewhere, it stopped being about equality and became about control. The state owned everything. Leaders claimed to speak for the people but silenced them instead. And that's why so many people around the world fled communist regimes. What failed wasn't the dream of fairness, it was the concentration of power. Under communism, there's no private enterprise, no competition, and no independent voice. The government decides what gets produced, who gets it, and what it costs. That kind of total control destroys innovation and freedom. Socialism, by contrast, still depends on democracy to function. In democratic nations like Sweden, Denmark, or Germany, citizens vote on how much social responsibility they want their government to carry. The market still operates, but it's balanced by strong labor protections, public health care, and education. Workers still innovate, entrepreneurs still thrive. The difference is that no one is left completely behind. In America, we already live with elements of democratic socialism. Social Security, Medicare, public schools, and fire departments are all social programs. They're funded by everyone because they serve everyone. That doesn't make America communist. It makes it compassionate. So why do some people still confuse the two? Because during the Cold War, the U.S. fought against the Soviet Union, a communist superpower, and the word socialism got swept into the same pile. For decades, political leaders used fear of communism to attack any idea that involved government support, from civil rights to public health care. But opposing communism doesn't mean rejecting fairness. Democracy is perfectly capable of blending free markets with public goods. In fact, most Americans want that balance, which is opportunity with security. Another difference is in human rights. Communist governments typically reject religion, free speech, and private press, seeing them as a threat to state power. Socialist democracies, on the other hand, rely on those freedoms to survive. You can't have socialism without democracy because it depends on public participation and accountability. Communism says the state is supreme. Socialism says the people are. Critics argue that socialism kills incentive, but history shows that's not true. Innovation doesn't vanish when people have safety nets. It grows because fear doesn't hold them back. When workers have health care, education, and basic stability, they can take risks, start businesses, and create new ideas. The goal of socialism is not sameness, it's fairness. The goal of communism was control, and that's why it failed. Understanding that difference matters. When we label every policy we disagree with as communist or socialist, we stop thinking critically about what kind of country we want to be. America doesn't have to choose between compassion and capitalism. We can have both: freedom with fairness, prosperity with humanity. That's not a foreign idea, it's an American one.